So I think that one of the single best foods that you can eat for your brain is the humble can of sardines. And bear with me because in this video, I'm going to tell you why. So it doesn't matter how good a food is for my health. If it doesn't taste good, then I'm not going to eat it. And so all those benefits are going to stay on the shelf. But these taste great. I promise, even my 3-year-old likes them. Unlike other oily fish with similar brain benefits, like anchovies or mackerel, sardines aren't at all fishy. Instead, they're really meaty, like tuna, but even meatier and with a more buttery texture. And actually, that's how I like to think of them. I think of classically tuna-based dishes and substitute out sardines. I'm going to show you one of my favourite ways to eat them later on in the video, but if you've not tried them before, I really do encourage you to give them a go. And if you're still suspicious, then maybe start with one of the tins that's in tomato sauce as like a gateway sardine, and I'm pretty sure that soon I'll have you hooked. Which makes me sound like a drug dealer. But equally, no matter how good a food tastes, if it's as nutritious as a rice cake, then we can't call it a brain food. But fortunately, that's not the case here. Packed in to one of these tins are an astonishing amount of head-first foods. And right at the top of this list has to be long-chain omega-3 fats. These are the very fabric that our brains are built out of, and the amount of omega-3 fats in our brains directly impacts how flexible and dynamic our brain cells can be. And there's some incredible research now that shows that increasing the amount of omega-3 fats to adequate levels can be as effective at treating clinical depression as many of the common antidepressants that doctors like me prescribe to patients every day, but of course without all the horrible side effects. So these fats are known to be absolutely central to our mood and how good we feel day to day. Now, there's no recommended daily intake for the specific long-chained omega-3 fats in the UK or the US, but the stark, harsh truth of it is that most of us aren't getting anywhere near enough. But a single 100-gram serving of sardines gives us a whopping 1.7-gram dose of these vital omega-3 fats. B12 is involved in fundamental processes all over our brain. It's needed to make myelin, which is the insulation that wraps around brain cells and allows ultra-fast communication between them, essentially how fast we can think. Research so far has shown an association between low levels of B12 and risk of developing dementia, and worryingly up to 1 in 5 adults is deficient in B12. Protein isn't just needed to build strong bodies, but strong minds also. And in one single serving of sardines, you get about 20 grams of protein. And of course, this is complete protein, meaning it's packed full of all the essential amino acids, the building blocks that our body needs to build brain chemicals like serotonin, which manages our mood and our memory, and melatonin, which regulates our sleep. Iron is what carries the oxygen we breathe in around in our blood to our bodies and brains, where the cells then use it to extract energy from the food we eat to power them. So it makes sense then that a deficiency of iron leads to low depressed mood, a lack of energy and lack of motivation. Sardines are a great source of iron, with a single serving giving us about 1/3 of our daily need. Now honestly, that's just scratching the surface of some of the brain benefits of sardines, but I don't want to labour the point. I hope we can all agree though that packed into one of these small tins is a wealth of nutrients that manage how well we think, feel and age. It's also just worth mentioning that mercury levels in sardines are typically low because they're young, small fish and low down in the food chain, so they don't have as much opportunity to accumulate mercury as larger, older fish like tuna might. And mercury definitely isn't good for your brain. Okay, so they taste good and they make me feel good, but if I can't afford to buy them, then they're still no good. And sardines are cheap. Now, of course, like everything, they come at a range of different price points, and you'd like to think that the more you spend, the more you're getting in terms of nutritional value and not just, prettier packaging. But even so, this one that I get, which is, really pretty decent, cost me all of 65 pence. Yeah, they're really cheap. So to put that into context, we said earlier that sardines are a good source of protein, and this one here gives me 17 grams of protein, the equivalent of 77 pence. Now compare that to this fillet steak from the same shop, not sponsored, which gives me a roughly equivalent amount of protein, just a bit more, 20 grams per 100 grams, but for a whopping 9 times the cost at £6.60. Yeah, sardines are cheap. Although what I would say is whichever ones you go for, try to get the ones that are in olive oil rather than sunflower or other seed or vegetable oils, although from what I can see this doesn't actually have any impact on price. But we know that these other oils are bad and damaging for our brain health, so eating a brain food that's steeped in them feels like a bit of an own goal. And so the last factor that makes these one of my top head-first foods is how little effort they require on my part. Because of the way these are processed and canned, they last forever out of the fridge, which means I can chuck a couple of them in my bag and carry them around with me as like a backup plan lunch without having to worry that I'll forget about them and they'll leak everywhere or go off. Now there's 100 different ways you can eat these. They're good straight out of the tin, especially in some of the nicer marinades that some of them come in now, or you can stir them through pasta, put them on salads, have them on toast, and I really encourage you to get creative. But what I really want to share with you now is my absolute favourite way of eating sardines. And this is loved by my whole family, including the kids, and that's my head first, not tuna, sardine melt. So for 2 good sized melts I'm using 2 drained tins of sardines, which go in skin and bones and all. A good crack of pepper. These don't really need any salt as the sardines and the cheese later on are salty enough. And then 1, 2, yeah, do you know what, maybe even 3 good heaped teaspoons of smoked paprika. Then olive oil and a nice tablespoon of lemon juice, and mash and mix it all together to combine. And because I forgot it earlier, a good couple of handfuls of sweet corn go in now too. Maybe don't forget this and put yours in before you mixed it. I'm using frozen corn here, which can go straight in as it is. It'll cook when we grill it. Obviously tinned or whatever other sweet corn you've got is fine too. I've got 2 nice ciabatta rolls here for my melts. Needless to say, butter them and then spoon the sardine mix between them. A cake fork really isn't the right tool for this job. I don't know what I was thinking. Let's use a spoon. That's much better. And then just squash and flatten it all down a little bit. Finally, some nice thick slices of mature cheddar, which I'm laying across the top to cover the mix. And now I'm wishing I'd thought earlier to buy some Tabasco to put on, because I think that would probably go really nicely. But I didn't, so I can't. Anywho, these go under the grill, open for now, for however long it takes for the cheese to melt onto the sardine mix and go bubbly and oozy, and then for another minute or 2 to toast the tops and warm it all through. And that there is my sardine melt. It's not a tuna melt, it's better, and it's probably my favourite way to eat, probably the best head first food.